Enter the dragon! What are you fighting for? To show off your...
Let's bust some steel.
Hello, world! Don't forget to like and subscribe! Whoop, whoop!
Earth Defense Force World Brothers released in 2021 for the usual PS4 and PC, but also for the Nintendo Switch. It's another spin-off. Oh boy. Given my dislike of Insect Armageddon and Iron Rain, I really wasn't looking forward to another game that misses the point, another attempt at making an EDF title for a different audience. Except World Brothers is kind of fun. Sure, the tone still isn't ideal, in fact they went the opposite with it this time, full silly mode, but there's a lot here that's creative and interesting, enough to make it a worthwhile playthrough. Is it as good as the main series? No, dear God no, of course not. But it acts as both a decent entry point into the series, given its simplicity, and also a loving homage to Earth Defense Force as a whole. It's a fun mix of meta humor, referential details, and original ideas, all wrapped up in a fucking Roblox wrapper, I guess. There's a few major distinctions World Brothers has going for it over the other EDF games, the most obvious being its visuals. They went for a voxel style, where you use blocks to simulate the three-dimensional pixel look. I'm not interested in the technicalities of what it means to have voxel graphics, or simply polygons that make up the blocks we see, but the official World Brothers team says, "Welcome to Voxel Earth," so we'll just go with it. While this blocky look can look quite striking with the right game, especially one that focuses on destruction, Nex Machina and Teardown being notable examples, the execution in World Brothers leaves a lot to be desired. At a glance, this really looks like a Minecraft or Roblox version of EDF. Both mine and my buddy's girlfriends said as much each time they saw us play. Why are you playing Roblox? Is that Minecraft? I can respect Yuke's for trying to go in the other direction for a change. Iron Rain was a more mature and grounded take on EDF, as was the previous Western spin-off, Insect Armageddon, and World Brothers...
Well, shucks! So you tried to steal them bees' honey?
Isn't. But I feel like they crossed a line. I don't hate the idea of an EDF game that pushes its goofy sliders up, but this ends up feeling too kiddie for its own good, and with no benefits to show for it. I would have thought a voxel Earth Defense Force would work perfectly, but not only does it just not look very good, there's no strong outlines to the models, it all kind of blends together in a messy blob of color, the physics and level of destruction possible don't even reach the standard for EDF, let alone the possibilities voxels can provide. Buildings take similar gaps of damage regardless of which section you're aiming at, and with each successive blast, it'll maybe extend the hole by a few inches each way. The bits that do blow off disappear almost immediately. I imagine these man-made gaps were meant for gameplay purposes, to have players blast a hole in a building and take cover inside. That's not a bad idea, but I don't think it's as helpful a tool as it could have been, given how Yuke seems to compensate for the fewer enemies on screen by throwing larger variants at you, like clusters of Sidoroses, Darogas, and Hectors non-stop, which don't leave buildings up for very long. Buildings do blow up, and I guess that's a positive in isolation, but if you're going to have your structures and enemies composed of thousands of blocks, why not let them actually explode in fun ways? They all crumble with the same boring animation, and none of the enemies can lose chunks of their body when fighting, even the Hectors when aiming at their arms. You have a series where you're encouraged to fire at robot arms to make them miss their shots, hell, where you can shoot the limbs off of giant frogs, yet when you have the voxel entry, then all of that fun stuff is off the table? I just don't see the point, outside of appealing to children, to use this visual style if they weren't even going to take advantage of it. You'll see blocks fly off when you're damaging the nests and enemies, but those may as well be sparks, it's just visual flair, these aren't the actual voxels making up these models. There are times where the game can look great, but it's mostly the lighting and colors making the magic happen, like on the Daroga for instance, or the sunset shining down onto the environment. The voxels don't really enhance the experience at all, sadly, it just feels like a simplified take on EDF. You can't be too upset, since that seems to be the theme of this spin-off all around, but even still, the visuals just don't do much for me. Another way Yuke's tried to win over the youth was with its humor. This is what you'll hear when you rescue the first wing diver.
Hi,
Hi, I'm a wing diver. I like yams and hot cocoa. Ooh, something I'm good at?
This is what she says when you switch to her in battle.
High five! Oh, my turn? So I'm actually afraid of heights.
Over and over and over again.
So I'm actually afraid of heights. So I'm actually afraid of heights. So I'm actually afraid of heights.
I hate the 4.1 wing diver so goddamn much. One of the gimmicks of World Brothers is the massive number of teammates to rescue and then play as. They have their own personalities, their voice lines being distinct and audible throughout the level.
Sisters of the Sky! Mom, I know you're with me! Hey there! FYI, my mom's an EDF technician, specializing in satellite weaponry.
Yeah, the EDF-4 air raider is a mama's boy dweeb. Like, just look at his description. He can't help himself from talking about his supposed mom. The EDF-4 fencer has his own issues to overcome. Guy just needs to say something every dash.
What's the matter? What's the matter? Over here. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? Over here.
Hell, the EDF-4 ranger is a goofy goober too.
I'm a ranger. I've destroyed 3 hectares, and I'm just a few steps from becoming an ace.
Something in the water for the EDF-4 soldiers, I guess.
Here we go. Sorry if this hits you. Well, I guess I shouldn't feel sorry. Still, I kind of feel bad.
And then there's the story characters that we hear in our radios, basically all the time.
What's the scoop? Hashtag history between you two.
Shucks! Ooh, that sure was a doozy of a mission. I could use me some miso soup.
Flew away.
Hey there now! Give me back my cows! My cows! Shucks! Now they're flying?
And since you helped me, I'll bring you to Akiba Miracle Pure Milk and Cat Sanctuary Maid Cafe! In Akihabara, aka Mainland.
Oh, I feel a burning within. Moe?
Well, I think it's time to dust off an old classic line one more time. This sucks and I hate it. Maybe this is funny for Maybe this is funny for Maybe this is funny for a different demographic. You rescue a cowboy early on and he's a goofball. You rescue a ninja who becomes infatuated with a maid cat girl. There's a bear who wants to protect his honey.
Oh, this yummy honey just for me. It was a giant beehive. Figured I could get enough honey to fill a swimming pool, you know?
And yeah, I can only speak for myself and how I might have appreciated this when I was a kid. I don't enjoy this at 32 years of age, but I'm also not sure if this would have won me over when I was younger. I started regularly playing video games around the age of 4 or 5, I'd say, and boy, maybe until the age of 9 or 10 this would have been funny. It's quite the narrow window, and I don't think this will be pulling kids away from Roblox and Minecraft anyway, so it all feels a bit wasted. The ESRB rating isn't gospel by any means, but while yes, this is a Nintendo Switch game, a console kids play on, it's also rated T for teen. I'm a bit lost on all of this, if I'm being honest. I can't prove this, of course, but I'd imagine the majority of players for World Brothers were adults who already liked the EDF series. I'd love to be proven wrong, though, so if in 5 or 10 years I hear about someone loving EDF 8 thanks to trying out World Brothers as a child, I'll happily concede the point. Not only is the humor lost on someone like me, and the story is very straightforward and boring for the most part, but good grief, they make you sit there and listen to them babble on for so long. I know the mainline series did this at times, but you were collecting stuff. Missions usually ended too soon, plus the tone and voice lines were more cheeky and faux serious in the first place, but this? No collecting and the most kid-friendly banter imaginable? Listen, I think Bluey is a genuinely phenomenal show. I watch it all the time now. Media aimed at children can be good, but this...
They were unable to locate any tofu.
That is regrettable, as tofu is my favorite part of the soup. How I long for fermented beans.
Isn't. There's an entire level where all they talk about is tofu, man.
Do not dishonor fermented beans! Tofu is nothing but delicious white cubes.
It's funny, since I complained about the Iron Rain 30-second timer being needlessly long and unskippable, and sure, there isn't an explicit timer this time, but depending on the level, it sometimes feels like it's still there. The best parts about all of the story dialogue and such relates to older games of the series. Or maybe I'm just saying that since I fall into the veteran camp opposed to the children camp. Either way, not only did they include characters from every EDF game, 1, 2, 2 Remake, 3, 3 Portable, 4, 5, Insect Armageddon, and Iron Rain, the banter between some of the characters referencing their games is kind of adorable. I never thought I'd be happy to hear Iron Rain and Insect Armageddon callbacks, but here we are.
Lightning, any chance that ring's meant for me?
Hey, let's not have any spoilers. I still can't believe the actual Lightning Alpha himself is here fighting with us.
Right? They didn't even put me in the sequel to Insect Armageddon.
Iron Rain was not a sequel to Insect Armageddon.
Wait. What?
Maybe we should change the subject. Most players won't get what we're talking about.
It would have been amazing for them to get Parmandir Nagra and Steve Bloom back for their roles as Ops and Lightning, but I totally understand not using the budget on that, considering this game only has 600 reviews on Steam and doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Wait, EDF 6 doesn't either? What the fuck, Wikipedia? Anyway, yeah, this is the niche spin-off of an already niche series, play it safe with the budget. Their decision to make Lightning Alpha a total try-hard doofus is actually really funny to me. Steve Bloom has an iconic voice, and in Insect Armageddon was Master Chief-like with his line delivery.
Take care of those spiders before proceeding.
Roger, engaging spiders.
This Lightning Alpha sounds like he's trying to meet those expectations of being a badass type of guy, attempting to play it cool, and he ends up becoming a dork in the process.
Name's Lightning Alpha. As you can probably tell, I am a soldier. Let's move out. So, team, you'd say we break a sweat together. All right. I could have done this with my eyes closed.
Most of his lines are kind of annoying. Is it just me?
A W for World Brothers, I'll just say it. Insect Armageddon references, peak art. It feels like they're respecting the source material while also making fun of it at the same time. A tough balancing act, yet they pulled it off flawlessly. Besides that, one of my favorite parts about this big EDF team-up collaboration is when they go searching for the legendary soldier and can't find him, only to eventually stumble onto the fact that all of their versions of EDF had one. It was Storm 1, which is, of course, the name of the player character in all of the mainline games.
I think he called himself Storm 1?
There was someone going by that same name over here too, eh?
Maybe there are a number of chaps calling themselves Storm 1. What a true hero.
You can also sing all of the songs from both 4 and 5. Your 3 squad mates will even respond, singing the entire rest of the verse.
Now pick up our weapons, off we go. Firing at the flying saucer, shooting down our foe. We shall not allow these aliens to rule we Homo sapiens.
Legitimately surprising, but what caught me even more off guard was the original set of verses included for World Brothers.
Shooting down their flying ships, we soldiers prove our worth. We'll beat the giant creatures till we take back our cubed earth. Their weapons come down from the sky and creatures from the ground. The EDF march onward. Our brothers and our sisters are nowhere around here. Enemies unknown to us incessantly appear. HQ may forget us, but we'll fight with what we've got. The EDF march onward.
Honestly, dare I say, better than the EDF 6 songs? While during some missions it can be a bit much, the definite fourth wall breaking character was one of the highlights. Whether it's understanding what an escape event is...
Looks like you triggered its escape event. Escape event? How do you know all this?
Knowing Iron Rain isn't the sequel to Insect Armageddon, or in the DLC, understanding why we aren't allowed to defeat the new big enemy in this early mission.
Yep, we've got ourselves another see how strong the enemy is mission.
Well, I suppose the mission pack would be over really fast if we could destroy it now.
Along with the EDF references, her lines were the only bright spots in a sea of, well, random goofy nonsense to make the kids giggle and clap.
But they finally found Porfu.
The music is the same level of mixed bag, and for the exact same reasons. The tracks borrowed from other EDF games are fantastic, you love to hear them, but a lot of the original stuff is more on the children's game side of the spectrum. You rescue a cowboy, here's the cowboy track.
You're mine!
You're on a farm and it's peaceful at the start, cue the Stardew Valley OST. A Japanese town, you say? You know what to do. Does it fit with the usual EDF gameplay? I'd say no, but it does match the laid-back and goofy approach they were going for, so it's hard to confidently critique it. Do I like it? No, not really, but if kids do end up finding this game, I can see it working for them, so what can you say? To end on a more positive note, I did enjoy the lobby song, after a long enough time hearing it. It grew on me, it's rather catchy, even if it sounds like it belongs in Mario Party opposed to EDF. The story of World Brothers is that the cube Earth they call home is in flux, destroyed by Dark Tyrant, and somehow all the EDF games are involved. Through the 60 missions, we join up with squad mates from all of the EDFs, along with plenty of, sadly, original weirdos like Cowboy, Samurai, Catgirl, Bear, Pharaoh, and how could we forget, Livestream Sister.
This video has already gotten over 100 views? I think I'm gonna go viral!
100 views? That's it? And you call us boring?
Anyway, bye for now! Maybe we'll cross paths again sometime! Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe! Later!
We put back the world one piece at a time, defeating the many distinct kaiju monsters from the series and confronting their motherships. However, each time we take on their army, they retreat. Every time we go up against a mothership, we don't actually fight the mothership. Initially, I was a little bummed, but honestly, aiming upwards in this game is more annoying than any other. Your character is so short that your blocky head gets in the way almost immediately, and then it basically becomes first person with how leaned in the camera has to get to see up. Hey, at least the enemies on the minimap are back to normal. In Iron Rain, they had set heights for all higher and lower enemies, making it unclear how far up or down they were, and now it's how it should be. It can go all the way up and all the way down, or anywhere in between. Good. Anyway, once we get to mission 59, we see that the aliens, the normal enemies like ants, spiders, and so on, start attacking the Tyrant-buffed enemies. The Tyrant-controlled ones versus the non-Tyrant-controlled ones. It does reek quite a bit of Iron Rain, where you were in a pit very similar to this one, helping out the rebellion fight off the Ravagers, but still, it was cool seeing the two factions fight against each other. Finally, Dark Tyrant comes down to visit, in a moment reminiscent of the ending to EDF 5, where he descends and the mission is over, and the next mission is where we fight him. You take him out, but since he came out of a mothership, and there were 5 other motherships that fled throughout the story, we then have to fight 5 all at once. This is genuinely a good boss fight. It's obviously head and shoulders over Insect Armageddon and Iron Rain's final encounter, but even in isolation as a video game, yeah, this is solid. Nothing too frustrating, and the escalation made sense and felt climactic. Dead.
That was amazing!
Afterwards, the Earth is saved, but now the aggressors are free of the Tyrant spell, remembering why they invaded Earth in the first place, so now we have to keep fighting?
The invaders and Ravagers have resumed their attacks in various areas around the world. So have the aggressors.
With the Dark Legion gone, they must have remembered what they originally came for.
That's right. General, awaiting orders.
All units, deploy! Defend the Earth! EDF!
EDF! EDF! EDF!
This is a stupid ending. Is that really gonna be it? Are you serious? I guess this sets up the DLC appropriately. We'll get to that at the end, but for now, let's dive into the gameplay. As I said, you find and rescue EDF brothers and sisters in each level, and there's quite a lot to unlock. They come with their own ability, special attack, and starting weapon, along with different stats and armor numbers. One of the biggest features of World Brothers is the squad mechanic, where you can seamlessly swap out your unit with the other 3 you brought along with you. These aren't other players, they're your own personal EDF team. If you have 2 players, you'd both have your own separate squads of 4, equaling 8 little Earth Defense Force doofuses out there causing havoc. Yes, there are many characters to choose from, but since you can use 4 during a single level, it's not so bad, right?
Right.
Each member of your squad carries along their loadout and moveset. It isn't a watered-down version of them or anything. They have their special attack, their ability, their stats, and whatever weapon you chose to equip them with. You'll be rescuing soldiers to unlock them. There's usually at least 3 for each level, indicated by the pink icon on the map. If you happen to get a duplicate, a brother or sister you've already earned, that unit levels up instead, and all that means is they get access to another weapon type. Their stats don't increase, nor their armor number. You do accrue more armor as you play, but it's quite different from the system present in Iron Rain, or even the mainline games for that matter. There's no currency at all anymore, thank goodness, so you don't have to buy max health increases, but you also don't collect it in battle either. Those red pickups aren't armor, they're a healing item that restores health to all of your squad. No, instead, whichever 4 characters you finish the mission with receive an automatic armor increase. I can't quite pin down what determines the precise number of armor points you gain for each outing. Is it how many kills you had, the percentage time you used them? I don't really know, but it definitely gives more for units with a higher base armor value, and it gives more for being on higher difficulties. Maybe that means it's based on how much damage you did in total? Again, I don't know. I'll go more in-depth with the special moves and character-specific stuff later, but for now, I want to focus on the progression and squad mechanics of World Brothers. First of all, I have to give Yuke's credit. The 4-person squad gimmick makes a lot of sense for a series where you're regularly standing around waiting for the reloading bar to fill up, firing off the most powerful unit's weaponry until they reload, then swapping over to a different character with a fresh gun feels excellent. Given that there's a, frankly, silly amount of units with their own abilities to abuse, and potentially 4 different weapon types at your disposal mid-battle, there's a decent degree of depth here. Initially I felt the opposite, that this was too simple for its own good, but that's because the game starts you with only a single soldier. In isolation with 1 character, yeah, it's far too basic, but when you have 4, that's a lot to work with. There's no excuse now for not being prepared for a dropship or something. You have, essentially, 4 weapon slots. Keeping a balanced squad feels rewarding, such as 1 for their defense, 1 to take out airborne enemies, a close range guy, and someone with good mobility. There you go, you're good! You're good! Or you could go the other way, having a squad composed of different flavors of the same style. You can even go all wing diver types and chain your ascension, switching to a new tank, so to speak, mid-flight, and keep on soaring high. There's a host of fun details with the EDF classes specifically, but I'll get to that later. The main problem with the squad system is how unresponsive it sometimes feels. If the unit you're controlling gets downed, you can't immediately switch to someone else. You have to wait until they're in the crawling state for some reason. Even more, if all of your guys are downed, and you're waiting for your online friend to pick one of them up, you can't swap over early. You can't change which one you're controlling if they're all in the crawling state. The crawling itself is a good idea. You can limp your way over to a buddy instead of just sitting there, but because you can't flip to a different class when you want, you'll instead have to figure out which one your teammate picked up, mash the appropriate directional pad input, and since there's a gigantic delay, you'll likely die by the time you finally switch over. Glad my friend spent his own health to pick up my unit, really helpful. There's other times where the game won't let you change to someone else, and I can't really explain what's causing it. It just sometimes doesn't let you, even though you're spamming the button. When the difficulty ramps up, switching on a dime is sometimes very necessary, so it simply not working like it should now and then is a big buzzkill. Maybe they're getting caught on the terrain or something? The regroup button ends up being pretty vital, since it warps everyone right next to you, helpful for keeping them away from big enemy attacks, or even your own airstrikes. It's a good habit to get into, periodically rallying your squad. If you don't do that, and say, charge lightning quick into an area with ants and end up getting grabbed, switching to someone else means you're warping to where they are, which isn't ideal. This tragedy can happen in reverse, sadly, when you're falling off the map. The edge of the playspace isn't an invisible wall, it's simply a drop-off into nothingness. The idea is that you're on a cube-shaped Earth and, well, you can fall off the surface. This is fine for the most part, but it's incredibly aggravating that you just have to accept your fate. If you, say, wanted to switch to someone else, going where they are, so you can get back into the action, nope, you'll drag them along with you. Now we all take damage, yay! The non-controlled teammates will follow you around as best they can, firing at enemies now and again, and thankfully their shots don't count against you. If you saw your air raider use his autocannon, don't worry, the gun is still fresh for you right away. You don't get punished for their AI. Well, you sometimes do, like when you're trying to aggro specific enemies and not others, and the Pharaoh uses her missile launcher on everyone. Oh jeez. They can take damage and die when not being used, but they take substantially less damage when not being controlled. A nice consideration. As far as the progression for EDF World Brothers, I won't go through the armor diatribe again. If you've seen my videos on Insect Armageddon and Iron Rain, or even 4.1 and 5, you should know how much I enjoy grabbing the armor crates individually. Well, in World Brothers, the only collectibles are the pink icons, the rescuable teammates, which show up at the start of the level, and all the green icons on the map are there to help you in battle. A health, a bigger health, a team health, and some charge for your special. You'll automatically gain armor for every unit you brought in with you after the level is over. This isn't as bad as the other two spin-off games, it more so feels like you entered a lobby with a cheater in EDF 5, where they auto-collect all the armor crates and weapons once the mission is finished. I'd prefer to do it myself, but it really seems like Yuke doesn't like that aspect of EDF, so fair enough, this isn't the worst implementation of the armor increase system, I suppose. I don't feel as connected to my maximum health in this game as I do the mainline series, not even close, but I won't belabor the point. While I can, on paper, understand only granting more armor to the squad mates you brought in with you, when on higher difficulties, it doesn't gel well at all with how many teammates you have to choose from, and in what order you unlock them. I'll talk about that in a moment, though. That said, the fact that it doesn't work the same way with the individual level-ups is odd. In every mainline Earth Defense Force game, the class you were playing as was the one that got better, and in the case of 5 and 6, the XP share system still heavily favored the unit you chose, giving a comparatively smaller amount of armor and weapon pickups to the others. Enough to not feel like you're starting from level 0 again if you wanted to change classes, but not enough to make the individual progression feel meaningless. However, World Brothers went a different way. I don't mind the idea of rescuing a fallen squad mate as a mechanism to unlock a new character, but having the 3 or so be completely random each time means units you don't care about will be getting experience constantly, and you still might not have the weapons you're yearning for, or even the classes you're expecting. Initially, I had a hunch that it would always pick fallen brothers and sisters you didn't have with you in your 4-person squad, since for a large portion of my playtime, I made sure to keep in my EDF 5 Gamma Fencer, I'll get to that soon, don't worry, because he had the most armor, and I wanted to keep adding on to it. He was my defensive anchor, yet not once over 60 missions, maybe even 100, I don't recall when I first unlocked him, did I ever see a duplicate. Well, that all changed one fateful level on hardest, where not only did I find the same Voyager brother I was using at the time, I found the same EDF 5 Fencer, the one I hadn't ever seen beyond that lone time I first acquired him. With that being said, I don't know what determines who shows up or not in each level. Good grief, I got the Voyage brother shoved down my throat, phrasing, jumping to level 7 before many of the guys I actually cared about even got to level 2. This doesn't just prevent your favorites from having access to other types of weapons, it could even shut you out from unlocking their better guns. Ignoring how the DLC works for now, in World Brothers, you don't collect weapons, the teammates you rescued sometimes come with an upgraded version of their starting gun. If you aren't finding duplicates of the teammates you're regularly using, it means they won't be as flexible in what they can wield, and their tried and true isn't as good as it potentially could be. So already it feels disconnected, like you don't have as much control in leveling up your favorite guys or acquiring their arsenal. But here's where it gets fucking ridiculous. Every single class has an alpha, a beta, and a gamma version. Yes, 3 of the same unit, copies with marginally different stats and a different color. Their ability is the same, their special move is the same, and their armor isn't the same. The gamma variations always come with the most health, and it's not a minor uptick, it's a significant difference. When you have all 3, besides wanting a very minor speed boost or something of that nature, there's just no reason to pick the alpha or beta. Well, that is, unless the other ones leveled up instead and you wanted to use a specific gun. Yep, this plagues the tedious character selection screen with near-identical siblings, while also diluting which characters get upgraded when rescuing teammates. See, I did find another EDF 5 Fencer much earlier on, but it was the beta version, not the one I was working on this whole time with the much higher armor stat. I also didn't find any of the 3 EDF 5 wing divers for 2 entire playthroughs worth of missions. 60 on hard, 40 on normal, a handful of DLC levels, then finally, during my 30th level on hardest, I found one. It took so long, I, for a while, thought that the EDF 5 wing diver was a DLC character, or simply wasn't in the game. But no, she was, I just somehow never found one. All the while these schmucks were gaining levels left and right, enough to jump them to level 3, 4, and even 5. Every time I approached a winged fallen teammate, I'd get my hopes up, only for them to be dashed once I saw I was a jet, a samba sister, a pale wing, and so on, time and time again. When I finally found her, I screamed. It was actually an awesome moment. I'm a bit split, I think. RNG to unlock something in an EDF game? I mean, that's pretty standard, the only difference being this is a character drop instead of a weapon drop. Hating on this system outright would be pretty hypocritical, right? Well, I do think there is a meaningful difference in trying to unlock a gun for the class you're already using a lot, versus hoping to finally have the character, one of 62, you've been jonesing to play with. In the end, I'd say I'm okay with the system itself. The RNG to unlock people isn't bad. The bloated roster is what sours it. Even if the alpha beta copies weren't in the game, 62 characters, 3 fallen squad mates each level, a 4% chance, if the randomization for the fallen teammates is equal across the board of course, is simply too low for finding a character you'll want to start earning armor for. They don't retroactively gain armor they missed or could have accrued, they start at the same baseline health, which is a travesty when you're on hardest difficulty and above. 1,000 hit points, many even lower. Like, what am I meant to do with that? Survive a single hit from a spider? As you get further into the game, you begin to realize how none of this synergizes together. You only gain armor for the characters you play as, but you don't have any control of if you'll make those characters better via weapon unlocks or level ups to use different kinds of weapons. The quantity of units makes you think you should be trying them all out, seeing which works best, but that's actively working against you, since you aren't continuing to farm armor for the same unit. Think of it this way, in the baseline games, while you do have a lot of guns to test out, no matter what, your chosen class is getting better. They're slowly upping their max health by grabbing armor crates. Your kit has a great deal of flexibility with all of their many weapon choices, whereas in World Brothers, an individual soldier's kit is far more static. Fewer weapon choices, their mobility is the same, and their special moves and abilities don't change either. Where your kit does have flexibility is with the different units you can choose to compose your squad of 4 with, and like I said, that is the highlight of the game, but frequently trying out other teammates means you're missing out on the armor progression. It'd be like if your max health in EDF 5 was tied to which weapon you equipped for the wing diver, for the fencer, instead of their total HP being disconnected from their offense and mobility. In that way, testing out new weapons would become a hindrance since you're splitting up your armor gains, and that's exactly what's happening in World Brothers. The best I can say is at least you get more armor on higher difficulties, which does go some way in alleviating this problem, but it's not perfect. If you unlock, say, the EDF 5 wing diver in the middle of hardest, boy, her low health will make her easy pickings for the enemy robots. Plus, the feeling of working your way up to higher modes is a bit lost in translation when you know playing on normal means you're not really doing much to increase your total armor. You're not really preparing yourself. All you're really doing is checking off the box that said you completed the level on normal. The randomization of the rescuable units also means that the alpha and beta versions don't consistently act as precursors to the good one, since you could get gamma first, which causes the eventual alpha and beta unlocks to be even more worthless than before. They could have been a sampler, a stepping stone, but instead they act as an already obsolete version of the class you currently have a third of the time. This 3 copies thing is unequivocally the worst part of the game in my eyes. You already have a shitload of fun classes, too many non-EDF ones for my liking as it is. Look at this list, this is a gigantic roster, but no, why not pretend we have 3 times as many for some reason? The only possible explanation I can think for all this is that this was their attempt at stretching out the progression. There's no scriptscation in the game. I realize that's a word you've never heard before, but I'm coining it myself right now since I'm tired of having to elongate the explanation. Scriptscation is when a game internally accepts that, since you've completed something on a higher difficulty, it should auto-complete the lower ones. As an example, finishing The Last of Us on normal will unlock both the normal and easy trophies, whereas Guitar Hero 3, trust me I speak from experience, doesn't have scriptscation. 5-starring every song on Expert doesn't unlock the achievements for hard, normal, and easy, even though you've clearly demonstrated mastery in the more difficult mode. EDF 2017 and 4 didn't have scriptscation, and that was a shame, but then 5 did, to a certain extent. If you played on normal, easy would automatically register as being finished with that class, and the same went for hard mode, normal and easy would get checked off. Hardest and Inferno were their own beasts, not influencing any of the others, but still, a little scriptscation is better than nothing. Playing on hard and seeing 3 medals unlock is fantastic. Earth Defense Force World Brothers has no scriptscation, so if you want to get 100% completion, easy and normal have to be played through, and even worse, the difficulties aren't all there at the start. To unlock hardest, you need to beat the game on normal or hard, so I'm told anyway. I finished it on hard first. And to unlock Inferno, you have to beat the game on hardest, and there's a 6th difficulty apparently, if you bought the DLC, Armageddon, which only unlocks after Inferno is finished. EDF 6 locked away hardest and Inferno at the start too, but at least then, once you finished the game once, you had both available to you. And you had scriptscation, so there wasn't really a point to playing on easy or normal after a while anyway. And plus, EDF 6 wasn't even out yet when this game was being developed, so who cares? The World Brothers way feels most similar to EDF 2017, actually, since that one didn't have scriptscation either, and you'd likely naturally play through all of the difficulties to get all of the weapons if you wanted them. Personally, while I can live with that in EDF 3, that's a 2006 game. It's been 15 years since then, at least going off the World Brothers release date, and we've come a long way with quality of life updates. Mark off easy difficulty when you play on normal or hard, and keep all the difficulties unlocked at the start, or at the very least, unlock both hardest and Inferno when you beat the game once. That's all I'm asking. On a more positive note, I'm happy the online and local story mode medals are synced. You have the one shared percentage number, and you can make progress with each difficulty to unlock the next one, going back and forth between solo play or with the group. See, that symbol means I played it online, and that one means I played it on my own. Awesome. Even EDF 5 didn't have that going for it, so kudos to Yuke. It's much appreciated for someone like me, who bounces around between offline and online. While I would have liked a way to favorite the guns I liked, or characters I preferred playing, something Sandlot really needs to start adding into their games, even a heart symbol or something would be enough, the fact that you can have multiple saved teams is a neat consideration. You can even assign the squads a name and give them a unique emblem to boot. This inclusion is as thoughtful as it is efficient. It offers more things to unlock with the emblems, lets you roleplay a bit with team management, thinking up fun gimmicks and names. It likely wasn't that difficult to put in, and it comes with a functional wrapper to let players have a method to save their favorite squad combinations. Well done. I'd prefer starring the ones you liked for later use, but this is something. Now, when it comes to the actual menu for choosing characters and weapons, it's a bit of a mess. First of all, when you scroll up or down, you don't get any buffer. Your selection is the top of the column, and the entire thing shifts down. This means the new tag for characters, weapons, and accessories gets removed when you don't want it to, all the time. There's not even a delay. You literally won't see it if the new character or weapon isn't one of the 8 on screen right when you open up the list. When you're trying to give everyone and everything a try, which is pretty much the standard for EDF, this is an obvious flaw that has no right to make it into the game as is. Just keep the new tag there until we finish a mission with them, or even, select them once. Nope, it's gone right when you hover over it. Nice. At the very least, there are ways to sort this big list, but no matter what way you go about it, it's a lot of mindless scrolling. The worst is when you're trying to find someone that can hold a certain weapon, like a sniper. There's no sorting options for who can hold what guns, so pick a sorting style and just hope you eventually find one that suits your needs. I feel like we've already solved this problem. Just reference the other EDF games, my guys. A horizontal scroll with vertical columns is much better than throwing literally everything onto one enormous scroll wheel. This is clunky, and even worse, it doesn't even show all of the information you'd want at a glance. If you've already chosen the character and are in their weapons menu, you can't see what guns they can equip. No, that's found in the character select screen, so back out, go up, press A, and then... yeah, awesome. Since we're doing small nitpicks that either feel cathartic as hell to hear bitched about, or make people want to turn off the video entirely, there's a couple more I'll throw in right here. There's an issue when online where, after a handful of missions, your HUD vanishes completely.
My HUD is gone.
Yeah, you've said that a few times now.
Why?
Is it a new guy? I think it's a new guy, dude.
Well, I don't have a map, so that's on you.
My friend was the recipient of this bug time and time again, and since I was hosting, we figured the host was immune and the joiner was the sufferer. Well, we tried getting it to work on my end so I could record footage of it happening, and it ended up triggering for him again instead.
Oh, my HUD's gone. My HUD is gone.
What? This isn't fair. I was supposed to get the HUD so I could record it. We're not quite sure what causes this, but yeah, the HUD will completely go away, which means your ammo number, the button to press to switch to specific teammates, and your health is just gone. Performing a special move makes it come back, thankfully, but if you don't have the camera option for special attacks turned on, it won't. It's the cutscene that does it, and the HUD remains absent the next mission. It's not a permanent fix. You have to back out or reset the game. Other people have had this issue too. We've seen 2 posts about it on the Steam discussions, which should say something given how little this game gets talked about online. The accessories, something not found in other EDF games, have potential, but they often act as a barely consequential and tedious rigmarole. When you rescue a teammate, there's a chance they'll be holding a new accessory, a completely separate and distinct item that grants some passive bonuses to any unit when equipped. The colored versions grant a better buff depending on your mid-battle status. Yellow means you'll be better if your special meter is all the way up, green if you have full health, red when you have low health, and non-colored is the normal version. There's plenty for offense, defense, mobility, and so on. Very slight stat increases, but you may as well equip one of them. It makes no sense not to. There are some that feel significant, like attaching auto-aim to any gun, for instance the Lysander sniper rifle, making it a simple thing to fire at range quickly, or pairing the kangaroo shoes, which lowers gravity, to your wing diver units, letting them hover in the air a bit longer, saving fuel. Yeah, some of these are kind of cool, but most of them feel too trivial to care much about. Seeing something be 1.2 times or 0.98 times, like, oh my god, so boring, whatever. This is exactly the type of thing I hate in video games, spending time deciding what way to microscopically increase my stats. It's also yet another thing to think about. 62 characters, 3 different variations, totaling 186 possible units to choose, with 4 squad slots. Guys, that's already 48 million unique team combinations, given that you aren't leaving any blank. Add on the different weapons they can wield and the accessories? Let's just say I would have gladly taken a randomize button. At the very least, the blurb they put above the stats alleviates some of this hassle for people out there like me who can't stand sifting through their inventory for the best stats. Legitimately, thank you, Ukes, this was nice. A great choice if you're unsure what to equip. This may let you do your special move multiple times, earn SP points when taking damage. Concise and to the point, it's very much appreciated. It isn't as good as the EDF 5 equipment, but I think that's obvious. Zooming in on the many teammates of World Brothers, while I understand why they'd want to add in original characters to their game, so it doesn't merely feel like a Sandlot greatest hits collection, the number of non-EDF units is simply far too high. 62% of the main roster is random fluff like Tapioca Sister, or Matador Brother, Yodel Sister, Voyage Brother, Viking Brother, GSG Brother, Alpine Brother, and a whole lot more. I'm assuming, given the country flags, the idea was that all corners of the Earth were teaming up to create a united Super Earth Defense Force, all types of brothers and sisters joining in on the fight, and then they thought up the character's gimmick to suit the nationality. America gets 3, a cowboy, astronaut, and a boxer, while Mexico gets...
Introduce myself? Not with this headache. Just wake me when the mission starts.
Whatever. Even if the idea makes sense with the name of the game and the name of the series, the roster is too big. Dracula himself, pirates, ninjas, and such all make sense to me, but do we need a bear, a panda, and a koala brother? 3 versions of each, remember, 9 slots used up on these fucking dumbass guys in costumes.
Guess what? I'm actually a human in a panda suit.
If we win, I'll tell you why I'm wearing this koala suit.
I can't trash the livestream sister too much, since I am a YouTuber and she helps me plug my channel.
Everyone, watch my channel!
But do we need a tulip sister?
Introduce myself? Who am I? Well, let me think of something to say.
A safari sister? Fun fact, thanks to whatever weird RNG in the game dictates when you unlock certain classes, I didn't get the real Prowl Rider unit from Iron Rain until I was done with hard mode, whereas I unlocked Safari very early on. Huh, wild, the Safari is the only other class that has the zipline ability. Is it a conspiracy to give this goober more time in the spotlight as the only class available with the grapple move? Probably not, but it's what happened. Something interesting that I almost forgot about was how the early game treats rescuing teammates. In the tutorial level, you collect the Wing Diver and only have 2 characters. You go into level 1 with these 2, and the next couple you rescue get added to your squad mid-battle. I found an Amigo brother, and my friend found a Tulip sister. I got the one I picked up, he got the one he picked up, and we both started using them immediately. This detail will never, ever come up again, basically. There's never a reason to go into a mission with fewer than 4 squad mates, and nothing you do mid-fight can free up a squad slot, so this real-time addition of a teammate is something that'll happen once, maybe twice, and it's kind of a shame, since finding someone and using them straight away is honestly fun. I could easily envision a roguelite style of EDF World Brothers working, if only for how enjoyable it would be to have to deal with whichever squad mate you happen to come across and rescue as you went along. Besides the EDF soldiers, there's only a couple of original classes that really stuck out. The melee units as a whole are fun, the ninja with his slippery slashes and lightning dash, the Baron brother with his, well, pretty rough movement speed, I won't lie, but his sky leap and slidey swings help him get around, which is neat. The Sparta is more stationary, with his sword dishing out projectiles, and he comes with a jumping downward sword thrust that also ends up hurting him, but it's still cool looking. By far the best melee unit was the Dragon Sister. First of all, her ability is the Nimbus Cloud. There's 2 others that get this slide ability. I think they're meant to be snowboards, but the cloud is straight up a Dragon Ball reference. All 3 of these are meant to glide on the ground, but the Dragon Sister specifically meshes perfectly with her weapon's moveset. The first attack in her combo is an uppercut that sends her high into the air, so couple that with your cloud and you can fly. There's no way to turn, sadly, but the cooldown is pretty short, so not a big deal. While her movement is already impressive, that's nothing compared to her damage potential. Something unique about her fists is that, since you have to do the uppercut first, it's not great on things low to the ground, like nests or ants. Dropping and trying to reach them as you fall is clunky and will result in you getting hit. However, it's the perfect height for Hectors, Darogas, and Kaiju monsters. As long as you keep pressing the button, she'll keep on hovering in midair, punching until you decide to stop. This decimates anything that dares stand in front of it. The only concern is if a model-shaped hitbox grazes you slightly and ends your fucking career. When you get really good, you can chain kills together, taking down 1 Hector, equipping your cloud, and taking another one down without even landing on the ground. I love how specialized she is. You won't do well with her as your only offense, but since this is a game that lets you bring in 4 different characters at a time, she's amazing to have in your back pocket. Besides her, the Space Brother was silly in a way that appealed to me, with his giant leaps and ridiculously low gravity. The Pharaoh Sister has one of the coolest abilities in the game, summoning 3 tornadoes. The Livestream Sister, while great for reminding me to plug my channel,
If you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe. Bye for now.
has a funny stun ability where she flashes her camera and the ants strike a pose. And the Baron brother, Dracula, is just funny as hell.
Don't worry, I may be a vampire, but I prefer fine dining to human blood. Cuisine is ingredients, and ingredients are nature, which is why I must defend the earth. I can do this.
So I'm actually
Speed up.
I have a bone to pick with the Royal Brother, since he's the only one with a shield power, but when I tried using it on hardest, it couldn't defend against bees or gunships, so why even bother? As interesting as some of those goofballs are, the EDF soldiers are where I and my friends spent most of our time. World Brothers is at its best when it's referencing other EDF games, which is both a blessing and a curse, as while it's awesome how much they got right for the EDF callbacks and inclusions, it means their original content, while not great in my opinion in the first place, gets overshadowed even more. Think about it, if there was somehow another take on this everyone is here idea in 10 or so years, what characters or enemies would make a cameo from World Brothers? Dark Tyrants definitely, but then what? No enemies are unique to this game, and for the characters, the cowboy, the ninja, the anime girl, maybe fourth wall break lady, and hopefully Dragon Sister? Pretty weak. Regardless, I'll give Yuke's credit. The attention to detail for these older EDF units was a welcome surprise. Not everything is one-to-one. The air raiders can't call down vehicles, the wing diver's jet fuel doesn't feed into her guns, they reload separately, the EDF 4 fencer can't shield cancel to move quicker, and they obviously can't double up on weapons. But what did make the cut, what idiosyncrasies they did decide to carry over, is genuinely impressive. The wing diver's incarnation in EDF 4 didn't have a boost, so naturally she can't do anything but fly up and down. The same goes for the Pale Wing. The flyers from Iron Rain, Insect Armageddon, and EDF 5 did have a faster movement option though, so with the former two you can charge forward using up your fuel, and with the latter you can dash and side roll in mid-air. The jet from Insect Armageddon glides around, hovering instead of running, making him a little more agile on the ground than the basic wing diver who walks normally. The Heavy Striker from Iron Rain has a sprint, and it's the Heelys roller skates movement, which is awesome. In fact, since the PA gear stamina isn't here, you can do this indefinitely. Very helpful when trying to run from enemies and kite them around. The Prowl Rider has their Attack on Titan zipline grapple hook, and their special gives them a bug to ride. It's always the ant this time, but still, this thing dominates when fighting off hordes of green ants, good lord. The Iron Rain Trooper gets his E-Dodge as his ability, differing from the other Rangers and some Air Raiders that get a dodge roll. All of the Iron Rain peeps even receive their PA gear audio lines for when they take damage.
Warning, damage levels critical. Evacuation recommended.
The battle unit from Insect Armageddon gets the electrified shield as his power, and the tactical boy gets deployable turrets, and most of the Air Raiders get some sort of airstrike, along with a dodge roll you can spam by clicking the stick, not tied to an ability cooldown. The fencers, when using a fencer weapon anyway, have their shields, can use it to block attacks, and can even deflect enemy projectiles back at them. Well, it has a reflect function, but it always shoots back a purple laser or something, not the actual projectiles. Either way, it's the same idea. Finally, the craziest of all, the EDF 5 fencer. He has a dash as his primary ability, but if you click the stick, he also gets his jump. Chaining them together, unbelievably, works. You can fly around like you would in EDF 5. Unironically, this makes him one of the best units to have when you're wanting a mobile squad. In a DLC level, I brought in 2 EDF 5 fencers, since chaining these guys together was excellent when avoiding giant enemy attacks. My only complaint with all of these details relates to how the abilities recharge. You can't reload them early like you would a gun. It's a good habit to get into, pre-reloading your weapon before swapping classes, so you don't get stuck with half a clip when you need a full one. That doesn't work with the fencer dashes though, even if you weren't playing as him for a minute straight. If you used 7 dashes last time, he'll have 1 available, and then a long cooldown. In fact, the cooldown is insane. 15 seconds? What are we doing here? Why gimp him this much? It did not need to be 15 seconds, this is just absurd. Anyway, the wing diver has a similar issue. There's a rhythm to maintaining your energy mid-flight in 4, or even 5, and World Brothers tramples all over it. Here, your fuel only starts recharging once you've landed, whereas in the main games, it always generates energy as long as you aren't expending it. You can gain some height, let go of the trigger, then as you fall a bit, gain some energy back. That's not present, sadly, in World Brothers. To be fair, this at least feels like a meaningful change. The main gimmick of the game is your 4-person squad, and I get the impression that frequently switching your squad mates in and out is the intended way to play, so fair enough. In isolation, I don't like how the wing diver feels, but in context, it makes sense. You aren't meant to rely on a single character. I can't really have the same level of understanding when it comes to the Air Raider's airstrike, though. His autocannon and special moves are great, but why, on Cube Earth, wouldn't they allow you to aim and throw your airstrike cooldown? I'm not asking for a pull-the-map-out EDF 5 trick, just give us a fucking arc to work with. This lands so close to your character, it's best to move backwards as you're throwing it, which is just silly. I get wanting to make this a more simplified EDF, but good grief, we aren't babies. The special moves feel iterative of the overdrive mechanic from Iron Rain. After you defeat enough enemies and charge your yellow square up to 100%, you'll get to use your character's ultimate, move. It's not always an attack. Some act as a decoy, some produce a turret, others an attack and defensive boost, and, the strangest of all, the Iron Rain overdrive mechanic. As much as I love the EDF callbacks, this one made no sense here. It only recharges your ability quickly, and for the trooper, that's just a dodge. It's even crazier since the Apocalypse Gun, one of the only interesting and unique Iron Rain weapons, is in the game, but they gave it to the Eldorado brother as a special for some reason. Why not give that to the Iron Rain trooper? At least for the Heavy Striker, he becomes invincible, the only time his Iron Rain shield mechanic is featured, and since his ability is a double-barrel rocket launcher, that recharging quicker isn't so bad. Many of the EDF soldier specials are simply weapons from their respective games, and honestly, it's kind of awesome. EDF 4 Ranger gets the Fusion Blaster, EDF 4 Air Raider gets the Rule of God, one of the best looking explosions in the entire game. The EDF 5 Air Raider gets the Sprite Fall, EDF 5 Fencer gets a combo Vulcan Hammer Strike, Insect Armageddon Battle Unit gets a Shockwave, and EDF 3, that's 2017 for us Americans, has two types of Rangers, one without a pack and one with a pack. The one without a pack moves around like normal, he feels great to control, and his special is a twirly acid gun. Incredible. The Ranger with a pack, though, is a fucking donkey. He's stubborn and slow, even his roll is dog shit. All of his stats are bottomed out, which means his special takes longer to build up, but the pack ends up being worth it since it gives him the Genocide Gun as his special. My friend and I were delighted this made it into the game, but to be frank, it's not as cool looking as we'd hoped, especially for how long his special takes to charge up. It also has a finite range, so it might blow up before hitting your target. The special moves are one of the determining factors when deciding which units to take in with you. After a while, a lot of classes can wield a sniper, a shotgun, a rocket launcher, and so on, since they've been upgraded over time. What it eventually comes down to is their armor level, their mobility, their ability, and their special move. Some of the units are simply completely off the table with how garbage their special move is. The koala, or the panda, I don't remember, just rolls forward for 3 seconds. The knight has a similar thing, just charges for a short distance. Oh, what the hell is this thing? What the hell is this thing? Joust of Gallantry. Whoa! Are you kidding me? I got stuck on one stair. Neat. When you spend enough time with the game, though, and have your 10 or so classes you've grown to like, you'll be able to rely on their specials, and some can really come in handy. The Dragon Sisters is a ludicrous damage-dealing series of punches, almost guaranteed to kill anything you point it at, as long as you're in range. The Livestream Sister has a barrage of likes, literal thumbs up, and even some thumbs down, raining on wherever you threw it. It does home, though, which is a double-edged sword. It's nice when you thought you missed, but if you were trying to aim at that dropship, it might veer down towards an enemy on the ground instead. Still cool looking, though. My favorite non-EDF special has to go to the Pharaoh. She gets to literally stop time. In this frozen state, you can fire off dozens of arrows, which all fly away once the timer is up. This actually stops time for the other players, too, so if your teammate uses it, well, drink some water or something, you're not playing for a few seconds. A similar thing happens with the special moves as a whole. If another player uses theirs, it'll steal your camera and show them doing it. You can turn this off, thankfully, along with the other camera effects, so you'll see me in this video sometimes go into the special move screen, and other times not. The yellow boxes to collect on the battle space give you a percentage of your SP charge, and this is a great idea, honestly. I always dreamed of something sort of like this, but I'll admit it was simply to suit my selfish desires. I wanted a pickup that would give some energy back to my wing divers in EDF 5 and 6. It would be extraordinarily helpful in a pinch, but obviously that's only suited for one class, and thus wouldn't really work. This does, though. Everyone benefits from the yellow boxes, and deciding which squad mate should grab the limited number of them for tough battles is an interesting wrinkle. As far as the enemies, while it is great seeing the return of the Hectors, and the Insect Armageddon Mantises were a wild sight, I'm a bit surprised there wasn't any EDF 5 presence. EDF 2 even got a shout out with the Darogas, and Sidoroses, along with the blue mutated versions, are naturally from Iron Rain, but beyond the soldiers you can rescue and use, there isn't a mention of the EDF 5 timeline, no cosmonauts or colonists to fight. You can buy them as DLC characters, which I did, and I'll take the hit for all of you. This is a video review of the game. Look at these guys, aren't they cool? They make funny noises. Please make my $6 worth it. But yeah, nothing else EDF 5 related in the base game or DLC. Except the Barga, right. I can understand this to an extent. After all, there's a World Brothers 2, so maybe they're in there? Can't blow your load too fast if you're hoping to make a sequel, right, Infamous? The kaiju they decided to bring over are, on one hand, what you'd expect, but on the other, quite the shock. Erginus, obviously he'd make the cut, and Bazel is from Iron Rain, a Yuke's creation, gotta represent your own game, right? But they also added Saros? This is the kaiju from Monster Attack and Global Defense Force, EDF 1 and 2. It's massive! Good lord! They have the baby versions of him during one level, and afterwards, you get to fight the big boy in a goddamned Barga! This is a crazy spectacle. I'm punching his knees and his wiener. He's so high up! Mixing EDF 1 and EDF 5 is absolutely incredible, a fantasy matchup you literally couldn't get anywhere else. Taking on Erginus and Bazel with a Barga in a 2-on-1, oh man, absolutely perfect. In the DLC, this idea gets taken to the next level. Since the Mad Lads fucking did it, they brought back the Valak from EDF 2017. Fighting 4 at once with the Barga was already ridiculous, but then there's the mission with 4 Walking Fortress Balams, then a Barga, as you take on Bazels, a Red Erginus, and a couple of Valaks. This is EDF 2017, EDF 4, EDF 5, and Iron Rain all in one. In all seriousness, I'm being completely genuine here. The Kaiju and Megazord moments are some of the best in the game. They really delivered on this front. I would have loved to see the giant spider from Insect Armageddon, and the Hectors from Insect Armageddon too, but hey, leaving me wanting more is a good thing, right? Especially if there's a sequel? Oh, please be in there, please. Anyway, something else World Brothers has going for it with the Kaijus is that they drop items mid-fight. You'll sometimes stagger the monster, and healing and SP charges will fall out, which is extremely helpful on levels without extra fodder around, sometimes granting your special move to you in one fell swoop. That said, the pinata explosion of items after one of these big boys finally keels over isn't nearly as satisfying, since those aren't weapons or armor for you to collect, it's just health and such. You win some, you lose some, I guess. Speaking of that, returning to the visuals for a moment, the Kaijus, along with being some of the most fun fights in the game, also ended up being the best looking, well, anything in the game. Maybe it's due to their massive size, the higher quantity of colored blocks made for a sharper model? I'd say the same thing goes for the Barga and Balams too, so maybe that's what it is. The dropships are present, but this time you can fire at them anywhere, the hatch isn't the weak point. Alright, sure. It was nice seeing the mother monster versions of the spiders, ants, and bees, the latter appearing to T-pose during its intro cutscene? Is this real life? What? The sound design with the spiders and king variants are incredible. If you've watched a certain other video on this channel, you may be aware that I seem to love boing noises. What is this? And that's what you'll hear when these arachnids jump. The king ones are even better, it's a deeper tone. Amazing. The red drones are just as pains in the ass here as they are in the main series, so good job, Ukes. I expected to see reds, but something more surprising was the golden ants and silver spiders. These are something reserved for hardest or inferno difficulties in the main series usually, so it was interesting seeing them mixed in, even when on normal or hard. There's also a couple levels with green ants, which are a nightmare on higher difficulties, so yeah, not a bad roster of enemies, spanning practically the entire series. The game suffers from a slow start. I don't think you need 60 levels if many of them are just ants and hunting for tofu and honey, but near the end, there's enough going on with the story and enemies to keep you engaged. There's even the shield bearer, which has a harsh right angle energy shield, funny enough. The vehicles found in the game, like I said, aren't tossed down by the air raider, but instead, like EDF 2017, are on the map at the start, or get brought in later. Lots of fun stuff here from the whole series, tanks and mechs and megazords, EDF 3, 4, and 5 variations, but no helicopters or bikes. Fair enough, even if those were in EDF 2017. I love how the other squad mates jump onto the vehicle you're piloting. It's like a big party, a joyous visual that sincerely makes me smile. The majority of the missions are the usual Earth Defense Force affair. Kill a wave of enemies, oh no, here's a new one, kill that one and call it a day. Yuke's carried over the defend the building objectives. Oh, how great. Yep, there's that health bar. Got it. It doesn't drag the game down or anything, but I don't love it. There's also a level where you're meant to retrieve items from a cave. This is the only instance of a cave in the game, and the only time you'll be collecting things for the story. I can't even say it felt refreshing though, since holding B for a very long time to collect a thing isn't exactly fun. In fact, it reminds me of Insect Armageddon with the nests. Oh god, and since the game is so blocky, and you can get caught on the terrain pretty easily, an underground level doesn't work well here. It's clunky and a bit tedious. Maybe for the best that there's only one of these. Anyway, that's everything about the base game done with. Let's move on to the DLC and wrap this thing up. While another rest cube, get it, continues the narrative thread the base game left off on, it's not exactly a strong storyline continuation. We ended on keep fighting, and now, well, we keep fighting. This one seems more themed around EDF 2, given the saucers, the centipede, and the new gunships, along with 2017, with the Valix and Quadruped Fortress. It's a very, very difficult 11 levels, which means they did what they were meant to do, make the DLC harder than the base game by a lot, so success! Mission 7 with all the new gunships, we had to turn it down to normal, since it was just an absolute chore to keep retrying on hard. That said, we didn't turn it down for the giant centipede level. We were on this for a good 2 hours across 2 play sessions, but we kept ramming our head against the wall and finally accomplished the mission. It's a neat concept. This singular enemy splits into multiple entities if you destroy any of the middle pieces, but I have to say, I think the mission ops lady lied to us. She told us not to use explosive weapons since they break the centipede apart, which supposedly makes it harder to fight, I guess? Well, it being split into multiple pieces ended up being really helpful, since getting struck by a barrage of homing yellow balls is instant death, so not having all of them fly off in unison was nice, but also, explosions have a radius of damage, so they hurt a lot of parts at once. I don't know, maybe that's not what got us over the hump. I mean, I did sit here and spam the Dragon Sisters punches on him for minutes on end. Maybe that helped? We did, however, have to turn it down to normal for the final mission, as I wasn't into the idea of wasting another 2 hours on the last level we'd likely ever play of this game. In the previous mission, we defeated the Walking Fortress, and like a weird fucked up piñata, a Dark Tyrant came tumbling out. Yeah, he was hiding in there, in this mechanized Wonder Ball. I don't know why, but guess what? Another Dark Tyrant fight is up next. Yeah, this final encounter is insanity. He keeps sending in Mantises, Cyteros, and Hectors. All the while, once you deal a certain amount of damage, a percentage of his total health, he brings in a few specific waves of enemies. First it's the saucers, then the centipede, then the gunships, and finally a Valak. We got as far as the gunships on hard. The centipede retread was tedious enough, honestly. No, sorry friends, normal it is, and we got through it. Hooray! Now the world is saved, again, and all is well. In this DLC, besides the new enemies, there's now collectible weapons? I'll admit, it makes an orgasmic sound when you open up the chest. But beyond that, it doesn't feel all that different from rescuing another soldier who happens to have the gun. Another bar to fill up with the B button press, just divorced from a character this time. Sure. This DLC also adds an Armageddon mode, a higher difficulty than Inferno, and, well, sorry everyone, I'm not playing all 60 base game missions 3 more times to see it. I got through hardest up to 45 or so, but I can't keep going. It's simply not as addictive as the baseline games. Another rest cube was worth the price of admission though, thanks to the levels with the Valak and Walking Fortress Balam. Mission number 9 is my favorite of the bunch, possibly of the whole game. Mixing the giant fighting robots from both EDF 4 and 5, with EDF 3, 4, and Iron Rain Godzilla monsters, is absolutely glorious. It's like something out of a fever dream, your brain having mainlined Earth Defense Force for the past couple weeks, concocting something that just doesn't make any sense, like using mechs from EDF 4 to fight monsters from Iron Rain. What an incredible sight. Surely you're hearing it, right? Almost all my praise for World Brothers relates to references to other EDF games. In a way, yeah, this hits like a nostalgia act, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons I'm coming away from the game with a more positive outlook, especially compared to the other 2 spin-offs I made videos for. However, I do think, when the game's at its best, it does get close to scratching the EDF itch while managing to separate itself from the others in the process. I'll admit right now, the game does easy terribly. I think it's still pretty fun, playing EDF 2017 4.1 and 5 on easy and normal, effortlessly pounding the enemy forces.
Pound that thing!
And it does extremely challenging well too, a point I've made before. It's quite the magical balancing act, hitting both ends of the difficulty spectrum in one game. World Brothers, when on easy and normal, is honestly pretty boring, But when on hard or hardest, when the game is finally challenging you to play better, to balance your team in a smart way, to, you know, actually care about the health pickups on the ground, yeah, it's a good time. When you're forced to utilize the unique mechanics of World Brothers, it's far, far more engaging than walking around without a care in the voxel world. Switching units at the right time, synergizing your offensive soldiers' loadouts, taking advantage of your defensive moves, avoiding incoming danger by regrouping your squad, and so on. It does also pull into focus some of the annoying hassles of the game, sure, since every second counts and a delay on firing your gun or trouble with changing squad mates or, God forbid, running into a tree could spell disaster. But for the most part, unless you're dying in 1 or 2 hits, more challenge in World Brothers makes the experience more enjoyable. Does it perfectly capture the magic of the mainline series? No, but it seems pretty clear that these spin-offs never will, since they aren't trying to. In an interview with the producer of the EDF series, Nobuyuki Okajima, he mentioned that even though Iron Rain received equal levels of praise and criticism, 50-50, they still went back to Yuke's for another spin-off game. While they want to respect the EDF series, they also want to reach a new audience. And given how many times D3 Publisher has gone to this well now, especially if you consider that World Brothers 2 exists, it seems the Western-aimed EDF spin-offs won't ever go away. And maybe that's okay. Listen, I know I've been harsh on these 3 games, Insect Armageddon, Iron Rain, and even World Brothers to an extent, but do they deserve this much flack? Do they deserve to be shit on to this degree? Well, yes, but also no. I'm here to share my opinion, how I liked these EDF games. I can try to be as objective as I want to be, explaining mechanics and showing off enemies and weapons, but I'm going to have to offer my point of view on things eventually, how I felt when playing the game, otherwise, what's the point of this? I can readily admit that Insect Armageddon was worth being made, as it's clear to me at this point that a lot of people got into the series because of that game. It was their first EDF. That's literally what D3 were hoping for, so by that metric, the game is a success. Hooray! The same sentiment goes for Iron Rain, although I doubt that was as many people's first entry into the series, since EDF 4.1 was a giant leap over 2017 already, and then EDF 5 came out, and no contest. Either way, I can be happy there are others out there enjoying these more mature EDF games, even if I really don't like them. But World Brothers, though? Even if it doesn't make any new fans for the franchise, I'm happy to say it's a success, because I liked it. When playing Iron Rain, although the novelty was fun for the first few hours, I grew to detest it the more I played, resenting how much time I was putting into it. After my friend and I finished the game, and then going back in for the solo run-through, that really devalued the game in my eyes. I think I'd rather play Insect Armageddon. More time spent with it, on a higher difficulty, made me like it less and less, but the opposite happened with World Brothers. Playing it again made me like the game more. It wasn't just something I had to get through for a video review, it was something I simply wanted to play. I'm still not in love with the Roblox visuals, or the music, or 70% of the humor and dialogue, and even though the progression system is wonky at best and fucked at worst, and the roster is bloated to hell and back, there is a good game here. A great game? No, but for my money, it's finally good enough. Thanks for watching, everyone. I know how many of you were waiting for this video, so, well, here you go. EDF 6 will come in time, please be patient. Others have been far more patient for a certain zombie game, and hopefully they'll finally get the video they've been asking for years now. Any minute now. Maybe next week? If you'd like early access for these videos, you can sign up on Patreon or a YouTube membership. I'll be sharing the early access link in a community post like this. You can also become a Patreon free member and get updates and access to my thoughts on every game I played that month. That'll do it this time for me, but hey, did you know the EDF 4 wing diver is afraid of heights?
Oh, actually, I'm afraid of heights. Oh, Jesus, Rick. Oh, I'm actually afraid of heights. Oh no. I'm actually afraid of heights. Ooh, I'm afraid. Oh, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights. long as I'm not, as long as there are no heights, I'm okay. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Heights. Oh boy. Oh no. Ooh-wee. That jet lifter hopefully wasn't too high. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Please roll. Please clap. Ooh-wee, you gotta clap. Ooh-wee, don't be too high. Ooh-wee, right heights. For some reason, I gotta tell you, the aerator roll is just overpowered. Like, they don't even shoot at me. Ooh-wee, oh, the afraid of heights. Ooh, oh no, the heights. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee. Oh, the heights! Oh, no, the heights! Oh, my God! Oh, the good heights, but hopefully it's not up in the sky! Oh, for the heights! Ooh-wee! That wasn't a good trade. Ooh-wee! Oh, not the building! Ooh-wee! That's not what the button I meant to press! Oh, my God! Oh, there's a lot of them. She's serious. Hopefully it's not too high. We're afraid of heights. Ooh-wee, I'm all dead. Oh wait, no, I have a fencer. Ooh-wee. Oh no, we're all dead. Ooh-wee. Did you just throw this at me? Ooh-wee.